All right, so if you are not here, whenever I do lectures, I will record the lecture so that you can get all of the notes from it. So first thing I do go over is how we take notes in this class. Basically, half of it's filled out. You fill out the other half. Then when I'm actually giving the lecture, you should be taking active listening notes here in the side. So it means things that I talk about that aren't necessarily in the slideshow or on the board. That lets me know that you are actually talking. I mean, that you are actually listening. Something to keep in mind with that, though, is that you do not have to have something written in every section. Some sections might not be that interesting to you, but it should not be blank for the whole thing, okay? Because that is a graded part. So then I give you time to fill out your notes. Then we're into the real lecture. All right, so we are talking about different types of government today. So many of these you may have heard of before, but it does give you more definitions and gives you a clearer understanding. So monarchy, what is that? System of government in which a single ruler exercises supreme power based on hereditary or divine right. So this could be a king, could be a queen, it could be an emperor. It is just when one person is getting the power, they're the sole ruler of the government through one of these two things. Hereditary is going to be the one that you are most familiar with, by basically passing it down to your oldest child, usually a son, but not always. It kind of depended on the different monarchies, but it is passing it on to your children. Or divine right, the monarch is chosen by God, chosen by God to rule. So those are kind of the two types of monarchs. Sometimes it'll be going really bad, and so someone else will say God chose them, and they kind of get placed into this power. Next one, dictatorship. System of government in which a single person or group exercises supreme power based on its control of military and police. All right, so obviously Hitler is going to be one of, if not the most well-known dictators, right? And then there's also this idea of totalitarianism, which is total control, extreme form of government that seeks to control all aspects of its citizens' lives. That could be communism. So we could be thinking of Stalin or Lenin or something. Nazism and fascism. Fascism or Nazism is a part of fascism. These two are actually supposed to be opposites, fascism and communism, because it's about ownership of things, but they are both totalitarian governments where the government has total control of you. They control the military and police to kind of do whatever they say. All right, theocracy. So this is going to be a government, system of government headed by religious leaders. Okay, so their laws, their leaders are coming from the clergy or the highest religious figures in the church or religion they are going off of. Laws are going to be entirely based on religious law. And the most popular form of government, this was used for most early civilizations. We don't see it nearly as much anymore, but it was really common back in the day. Think of like how much control the Pope had. Still is a theocracy in Vatican City, right? All right, then we are going on to a single party state. So this one can be really closely aligned with a dictatorship, but it is not exactly the same thing. So a system in government in which only one political party is allowed by the Constitution to govern and powers exercised by the leading members of the party. All right, so it's one party. So the dictator can change a lot more in this, right? Because it's whoever's leading the party at one time. But unlike here in the US, where we have multiple political parties, you're only allowed to be in one political party. So it kind of centralizes power a lot more. Political elite, that's going to be formed in a single party state, small group of people that have more power and wealth than anyone else in the country. So they're the ones really making the decision. Power rests with the leaders of the party. So we could be thinking of Xi Jinping, of China. This is a better example because technically North Korea would also fall under this. But that is going to be more along the lines of falling into the full dictatorship. All right, direct democracy. So don't get this confused with what we are used to. Direct democracy is where the citizens are voting on everything. Okay, not just their political leaders, but they vote on everything. So we don't really see this because that takes a lot of time. See how many people turn out to vote for our general elections. Imagine if you had to be voting on everything that was happening. So parliamentary democracy. This is going to be very similar to the American system, but it is not. This is the system used in the United Kingdom, a system of government in which voters elect lawmakers to represent them in the nation's parliament. The leaders of the executive branch come from the ruling party in parliament. So the prime minister, similar to a president, the people are not voting directly on the prime minister. They are voting on the party in the United Kingdom. And whoever leads the party becomes the prime minister. But that can be changing while that person's in office. So if one party still has the power or they still have the most representatives in parliament and they change their party leader, that can happen without the people really voting on it. So it's a little different than what we have, which is a presidential democracy or democratic republic system of government in which the voters elect lawmakers to represent them in legislature and a president to lead the government as head of the executive branch. So in this last one, you just vote on the party, basically, the people to represent you, and whoever has the most representatives gets the prime minister. And here it can be different. You can have mostly Republicans in the House and Senate, but then the people are voting separately on a Democrat as president. So that's where we're going to see the big difference. And then this is going to be more important for a second semester, but economic systems, the two main ones, a market economy and a command economy. So we're going to go over both of those. Command or market economy is what you guys are going to be more familiar with here. It's where there's private ownership of things. So the advantage is it can be more efficient because people are acting in their own self-interest to try to make as much money as possible, higher chance of growth, higher quality of goods and services because of the competition between different brands pushing each other, and generally higher standards of living. However, it also comes with much more unemployment, frequent recessions, and more income inequality. So more difference between people at the top and the people at the bottom. In a command economy, so think communism, that's going to be public ownership where the government is really owning all these things. The advantage is that everyone is put to work. There can be unemployment, but it's a lot less common because everyone does have a place in the economy. And because of that, they are not as likely to have economic recessions. Also because of that, because the government is controlling where people are working, they set the wages to be a lot more equal. However, this system is a lot less efficient. The people are not working as hard, slower economic growth, low quality of goods and services, and lower standards of living. So after you finish your notes, you are doing your reflection and the summary. And then I am introducing kind of a homework assignment because we didn't have time the other day. And then you do have an exit ticket.